What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering, and the Last of Us curse continues. Well, I don't know if I'd say that. Look, The Last of Us 1 was a fine game, excellent game, and obviously many people enjoyed The Last of Us 2. There are story aspects of the game that a lot of people didn't like, but most of the gripes, at least the ones that bubbled to the top for TLU 2, were not gameplay or visually related, but with the story. And it was a decision that I'm sure Neil Druckmann took in a stunning and brave fashion. It was very, very progressive of him. But this morning, news leaked or was reported by good old Scryer Boy, now with Bloomberg instead of Kotaku. That seems like a lateral move. Reporting that not only are they making a Last of Us remake that nobody asked for, but due to limited resources, they've canceled other games in exchange, including the second in a very beloved series. So if we look at this article, Sony's obsession with blockbusters is stirring unrest within the PlayStation empire. A small team had big ambitions for The Last of Us remake, but Sony handed the work to their star studio, Naughty Dog. Sony Corp's visual arts service groups have long been the unsung hero. Don't care. Michael Mumbar, don't care. Michael Mumbar, who founded the Visual Arts Service Group in 2007, recruited about 30 devs internally and from neighboring game studios to form a development unit within Sony. The idea was to expand upon some of the company's most successful franchises. The team began working on a remake of the 2013 hit The Last of Us for PlayStation 5. But Sony never fully acknowledged the team's existence or gave them funding and support needed to succeed in the highly competitive video game market. According to the people involved, the studio never got its own name. Instead, Sony moved ownership of The Last of Us remake to the original creator, Naughty Dog, a Sony-owned studio behind many of the company's best-selling games and an HBO television series nobody cares about. In development. If you look at some of the Twitter reaction, most of it, I would say, is suboptimal. Do we need The Last of Us 2 or Last of Us remake already? The poor, I don't know. I would argue that, no, we don't need a remake. Ultimately, Sony will be making a huge mistake by remaking The Last of Us 2 and forcing Bend Studio to work on a game they don't want to work on. What the heck is going on? Where's the creative freedom? Why not let those titles die already and make new IPs instead of milking The Last of Us and Uncharted? What a disaster. The Last of Us is perfectly fine in the state that it is. It came out during the end of the PS3's lifespan and was immediately remastered for the PS4 and got a sequel. It doesn't need a remake. Is Naughty Dog just afraid of making something new? Or do they just want to milk The Last of Us 2 to death? Well, of course, these things are complicated. You see, everyone who asked for a remake of The Last of Us, I just talked about this yesterday. I have a PlayStation 5. It's sitting there, and there isn't a single game I care to own. What a stupid decision to rush out and buy it. There's not a single game on the PS5 that I can think of that I feel like, man, I really got to get that. That's the next gen. The Last of Us doesn't need any remake. The gameplay in the game is aged pretty well. Also, Sony could give creative freedom to their devs instead of milking over the same big franchises. They need more diversity to broaden their horizons with different genres. Nobody wants this. Lamau, let's not remake the game that would actually benefit from it, like Uncharted. Let's Drake's Fortune. The Last of Us remake, though, that's it. Come on. Uncharted 1 remake would have been way more beneficial because that game needs some fine-tuning, and a remake could do that. I don't like any remakes, to be honest with you. I have very, very little interest in any kind of video game remakes. Even Final Fantasy VII Remake, which was more of a... it wasn't really a remaster. It was more of a remake. I got it. because of the nostalgia of Final Fantasy VII, but it doesn't really feel like I'm replaying Final Fantasy VII. It feels like, a completely different game. Ultimately, you see Naughty Dog is apparently working on The Last of Us Remake for PS5. The bigger news here, though, is that Sony seems to prioritize big teams with big games above all else, a heavy focus on hits only. Well, it's low risk, ultra high reward. And there's also reports of the cancellation of several other games that, well, people would have wanted. If we see here, the team's failure highlights a complex hierarchy of video game development, in particular Sony's conservative approach to making games for the PS5. The Japanese conglomerate owns a dozen studios across the world as part of its PlayStation Studio label, but in recent years has prioritized games by its most successful developers, including studios such as Santa Monica, California-based Naughty Dog, and Amsterdam-based Guerrilla Games, spent tens of millions of dollars to make games with the expectation and the investment will pay off exponentially. And they do. Hits like 2018 God of War, 2020's Last of Us Part 2 are exclusive to PlayStation consoles, helping Sony sell 114 million of the PS4. Rival Microsoft Corp has taken the opposite approach, relying on a wide array of studios to feed its Netflix-like subscription service, Xbox Game Pass, which allows users to pay a monthly fee for unlimited access to a variety of games. By the way, I think a better option. This fixation and teams that churn out hits is creating unrest among Sony's portfolio of game studios. Oregon-based Sony Bend, best known for the 2019 open-world game Days Gone, tried unsuccessfully to pitch a sequel that year. According to people familiar with the proposal, although the first game had been profitable, its development had been lengthy and critical reception was mixed. So Days Gone 2 wasn't seen as a viable option. So you're choosing, in a lot of ways, given limited time and limited money, they're choosing to do a remake of The Last of Us over doing a Days Gone 2. Instead, one team at the studio was assigned to help Naughty Dog with the multiplayer game, while the second group was assigned to work on a new Uncharted game with supervision from Naughty Dog. Some staff, including top leads, were unhappy with the arrangement and left. Ben's developers feared that they might be absorbed into Naughty Dog, and the studio's leadership asked to be taken off the Uncharted project. They got their wish last month and are now working on a new game of their own. Essentially, forcing people to work on a game that they don't want to, I'm sure couldn't possibly have any negative repercussions. Emphasizing big hits can also be counterproductive because sometimes games that start small can turn into massive successes. In 2020, Sony didn't put much marketing behind the quirky video game creation system Dreams by PlayStation-owned media Molecule in the UK. As a result, PlayStation may have missed out on its own version of Roblox, a similar video game tool. Parent company Roblox Corp went out public earlier this year and is now valued at $45 billion. I don't know who wants more The Last of Us. I am not interested in anything to do with The Last of Us on PlayStation 5 at all. It's just so hilarious. And even Uncharted, like, I get that they want to keep these franchises going so they can do them, the Uncharted movie and things like that. You see Days Gone 2 has been canceled, never left pitch phase despite being profitable. Well, if there's one thing we've learned in the video game industry, it's not that you need to make money. You need to make all of the money. And perhaps Days Gone didn't make enough profit. And there's a lot more in this article, of course. Nobody wants a Last of Us remake. Not even Last of Us, huge Last of Us fans. You see this? Boycott the remake. Never forget the crunch Naughty Dog put their devs through during the development of The Last of Us Part 2. Guess what? Crunch is a fancy word that Jason Schreier writes about nonstop, but nobody really cares about it. You see, there is some good news, though, for PS5 owners. You see, there's a new Uncharted game, there's Factions multiplayer, God of War Ragnarok, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, Ghost of Tsushima 2, Horizon Forbidden West, Gran Turismo 7, which I'm pumped about, new Santa Monica IP, new Naughty Dog IP, and The Last of Us remake nobody wants. All that money and effort could have been spent bringing back an IP that's been dormant for years, like Jak and Daxter. I mean, again, So The Last of Us is the only thing Naughty Dog wants to work on now. I'm not sure that Naughty Dog even was involved in this decision, to be honest with you. It seems like none of the fans are excited about it, and I just, especially after the bad taste that The Last of Us 2 left in a lot of people's mouths, I think ultimately a Last of Us PS5 remake is ultra low risk. You probably had a lot of new gamers buy The Last of Us 2 that still haven't played The Last of Us 1, and you can sell 5 million copies relatively easy. But then again, who even has a PlayStation 5 right now? Not many. I remember, when you got excited about new games, not these games that last for freaking generations. I'm really not interested in a Last of Us. And again, I've never really been critical of the first Last of Us game, but I'm not interested in another remake for my next gen console. I'd prefer a new game that is awesome. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.